editorial review of the woods operations of Brown Company, one of New England's pulp and paper manufacturers. It's been said the only thing that's permanent is change. This holds true with woods operations. Gone are the days of dawn to dusk work and living in primitive log camps on a diet of salt pork, molasses, and beans. Important to the history of logging in the Northeast is the record of the impact of new tools and equipment on the cutting and transportation of logs. The first important new tool, introduced after the peavey in 1858, was the two-man crosscut saw in the 1890s. Next came the portable, power-driven chain saw. By 1943, it had been developed to the practical stage. In its present improved form, it's in common use. From the beginning of logging in the Northeast, animals supplied most of the power. As the hauling distances became longer, the two-sled or wagon sled came into use. Two sleds and horses moved logs from yards to water landings, railheads, and mills on snow and ice roads. The two-sled teamster was the elite of the woods workers of his era. He kept his animals in tip-top shape, and the harnesses were decorated with colored rings, and in some instances with bells of different tones. Brown Company owns approximately 800,000 acres of timberlands outright and jointly in the states of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, lying on the headwaters of the Androscoggin and Connecticut rivers. The areas shaded green are owned outright, and the yellow portions are owned jointly with the Pingree heirs of Bangor, Maine. This timberland area is well consolidated and well located to its two manufacturing centers, Berlin, New Hampshire, for the pulp and paper and allied products, and North Stratford, where its plywood products division is located. This ownership embraces some of the finest lakeshore property in New England. We are merchandising shore lots for recreational use on certain lakes in the states of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Our timberlands are managed on the multiple use concept, whereby we pledge to continue and encourage the sustained production of timber under private ownership with sound management policies, and at the same time provide for maximum recreational use by the general public. The company has approximately 250 recreational leases in effect on its timberland property. The trail of the Appalachian Mountain Club, Maine to Georgia, cuts across the ownership. In the recruiting of our personnel in the woods, every man is interviewed and established rules for his safety are explained to him. In addition, his personnel record, if he had been employed before, is carefully reviewed and commented upon with him. We also require our employees to have a complete examination by our medical director, in order that the capabilities of the man may be matched with the physical demands of the job. This is done for the protection of the prospective employee to eliminate the possibility of his being assigned to a job for which he's not qualified. This is the scene you're most likely to see as you begin your journey up the Androscoggin River into the vast expanse where the logging operations are taking place. This animal, protected by law, is frequently seen foraging along the water's edge. Modern logging camps meet all fire and sanitary standards and are completely comfortable. TV sets are provided as one form of entertainment. The forest worker of today is able to enjoy a two-day weekend with his family. Some of the finest personal protective equipment known to the industry has been developed for the forest worker. The high-visibility hard hat not only protects him against serious head injuries from falling limbs, but also permits each man to know exactly where his co-workers are located when operating in the midst of heavy undergrowth. Countless hours of valuable production time have been gained by eliminating the age-old problem of blind searching for someone in the woods. All chainsaw operators are provided protective knee pads at company expense, and safety boots can be also purchased at cost. Some of the safety material used in our forest products industry is exhibited. In training sessions, safety techniques are skillfully interwoven in the maintenance and production sequence. A complete set of 35mm slides has been developed jointly by our woods department and a saw chain manufacturer on proper preventive maintenance of saw chain bar and sprocket. This training function has definitely accomplished its objectives: reduced downtime, longer service life, greater efficiency, and more money in the operator's pocket. These injured workers have come to the Liberty Mutual Rehabilitation Center in Boston, Massachusetts, from many industrial plants throughout the country. To those persons severely disabled by accident or illness, modern rehabilitation offers a collection of skilled, experienced techniques for the reduction of disability. This care may require the services of a therapist, a social caseworker, a brace maker, a psychologist, or a vocational counselor. Forest workers, like men employed in mills, are fully covered under workmen's compensation and also receive group hospital and medical insurance benefits. Once a camp location is established, it's necessary to bring in the supplies and maintain them so that the men may be well fed. Refrigeration is a must if good food is to be prepared. A balanced diet of 5,000 calories a day is provided for the men. A chlorinator plant is used and water tested at each camp. Hot water is a must and is required for sanitary purposes. Potatoes are no longer peeled by hand. All of our modern kitchens are maintained on the cafeteria-style basis. We believe in providing the men with a good variety of food, with plenty of meat, vegetables, and fresh milk. The men fill their own cafeteria trays with the food they want, and there are no restrictions on the quantity. Our only request is that they take all they wish and eat all they take. Plenty of hot water and showers are also provided for the men. When a new area is to be opened up, the logging superintendent makes a survey on foot, blazing trees as he goes along to mark the course of the future roadbed. In deciding the location for the road, the superintendent must consider many factors. These include curves, grades, bridges, box culverts, blasting requirements, and so forth. And next, the right-of-way is cleared of all merchantable timber in preparation for the bulldozers and bottom scrapers moving in to start stripping and rough grading. The finish grading is done by gravel trucks hauling in surface material, which is spread by the grader. Maine truck roads and bridges are designed to carry equipment and loads far in excess of those actually imposed, and in many cases are superior to public highways. Main and branch roads must be kept open night and day during the winter months so that there will not be any interruption or slowdown of production, especially during the hauling season. Ice and slippery roads are always a problem, and it's necessary to use sand, particularly on hills and curves. Forest fires are the greatest threat to the future productivity of our timberlands. The people who use these forests for recreational purposes have a tremendous responsibility for fire prevention. The favorable record thus far indicates the forest workers and the recreational visitors are aware of this responsibility. The company permits overnight camping only at authorized public and private campgrounds. The responsibility for the detection and suppression of forest fires rests solely with the forest services of the respective states. The company maintains fire tool caches and cooperates with the states principally in having available well-trained and equipped firefighting crews. These are the forest workers who are regularly harvesting timber and can be moved to fires quickly during periods of drought or at times when the ban is in effect. Softwood advanced reproduction consists of trees from 2 to 5 feet in height that will be protected at the time of cutting, as they will be the next harvest. Most landowners have adopted this method and have dramatized the protection of their small trees by educational programs appealing to the forest workers. One theme used is Save Our Baby Trees. Company woodlands abound with small game as well as the larger deer and black bear, which are most hunters' prime objective. Hundreds of deer have been taken from company lands in past years, but the size of the deer herd remains undiminished. We're proud that we've had a part in this preservation of wild game through cutting operations planned in such a way as to always provide the necessary cover for the deer herd during the winter months when they're yarding up. Some of our roads must remain closed because recent logging operations have created a temporary high forest fire risk, or because they provide access to land not under Brown Company's direct control. An illustrated pamphlet containing a map of all recreational areas in the timberlands is made available to the public at no cost by the company. At a number of locations, we maintain a completely modern and portable garage for the upkeep and repair of our mechanical equipment. Adequate electrical power is generated to permit full shop operations on a 24-hour-a-day basis. With the portable garage also goes a rolling warehouse loaded with spare parts and tools. The value of voice radio communication in woods operations is immeasurable. The company has all its principal locations and vehicles equipped with two-way radio. By this means, a wide variety of problems which otherwise would be hideously complicated are solved almost immediately. The great speed and efficiency with which forest fires are brought under control today is due in large part to the advent of radio communication. These well-trained animals know their jobs and are as skillful in performing them as any man on his job. There are no more fascinating scenes to behold than a well-coordinated man-horse team. The horse, when hooked up in the woods by the cutter, is perfectly capable of hauling his load unattended over a well-laid-out twitch trail to the yard. It's good business to turn the horse around instead of backing him up to the logs. Safe operating procedures require that the man hitch the chain to the log first, then hook the chain to the whiffle tree. Is now being unhitched by first unhooking the chain from the whiffle tree and then removing the chain from the log. The supervisor in the woods has many responsibilities to fulfill. One of the many important things is to check his men at each work location to ensure that equipment is being properly maintained for the prevention of accidents and the most efficient production. Whenever excessive slack in the chain is identified by the foreman through his inspection, immediate steps are taken for correction. Several times during the working day, the cutter is required to touch up the chain with a file. Logs are stacked in piles known as a deck to facilitate locating, loading, and hauling to customer sawmills during the winter months when deep snow is a problem. White birch bolt woods is sold for processing into dowels, glue pins, furniture stock, and a variety of woodenware items. In order to truck this wood, branch roads have been built from the main truck roads by rough bulldozing. The weather elements then furnish the necessary hard surface for winter trucking. original wood has been scientifically removed so as to preserve the young growth in perfect condition for future harvests. This particular machine is known as Bombardier or Muskie. It was developed by Mr. Bombardier of Valcourt, Quebec, prior to World War II for transportation between rural snowbound communities. This vehicle proved to be so effective, it was subsequently modified for woods work. Logging operations, particularly hardwood, are mechanized, but about 90% of the pulpwood is still harvested by the use of horses. Supplementing the horse operations are all kinds of crawler-type tractors, light track mobile units, and four-wheel drive rubber-tired vehicles. This equipment permits greater distances between the yards and cutting areas than is possible under the horse logging method. Because of varying conditions existing in our forest stands in the Northeast, logging equipment will continue to be a combination of mechanical methods and horses, one complementing the other. The use of the horse for skidding, particularly in the even-aged stands of timber, is still our most satisfactory method, since it enables the operator to make a careful selection of the timber removed, and the skidding is accomplished with far less damage to the residual stand. The choker man is carefully following his safety training, which requires him to stand clear before signaling the tractor operator to winch in. A set of standard signals for all log-moving equipment has been devised so that every movement is properly coordinated and closely controlled. Prior to the time that these rules were adopted, there were a number of serious and costly accidents which resulted from a misunderstanding between the machine operator and the choker man. Recent developments in the Northeast has been the complete integration of most of our forest operations. Markets exist for veneer logs, saw logs, piling, high-grade boltwood, and pulpwood. Economically, it's desirable to integrate completely so as to achieve the maximum financial return. On our own timberlands, integration is practiced at the woods level in all areas. Accordingly, trees are harvested for veneer and saw log content, and wood within the same trees, not suitable for these products, is made into pulpwood. It's our general objective to operate timber in larger diameter, older growth areas, thus permitting a better type of cut than where possible where pulpwood was harvested in second growth stands. Training programs have been developed and continue so that the forest workers understand the reasons for integrating the products having the highest dollar return. These lands are scientifically managed to provide a sustained yield of wood indefinitely. This means that harvesting is planned so that new stands of timber will be constantly maturing for regular annual operations. The arrival of the truck crane on the scene in woods operations has revolutionized the loading of both pulpwood and saw logs. Trucks are now loaded in 1/10 of the time formerly required by manual labor. A host of serious accident hazards has been virtually eliminated with this loading technique. Stratford, New Hampshire, is located another very important plant, the Plywood Products Division of the Brown Company. From these logs are manufactured high-grade yellow birch, maple, and red oak veneer for door faces and pre-finished wall panels. These products are finished in all shades from extremely light to mahogany color and are ready for installation when they leave the plant. Distribution is on a nationwide basis with exports to foreign markets. Modern technology provides for complete utilization of the raw material. The bark furnishes fuel for the steam generation plant. The waste suitable for chips and core centers are converted to chips, which go into the manufacture of high-grade pulps and papers in the plants at Berlin. Another type of mechanized operation which has proven to be efficient, and it involves the use of a grade awl, which is ordinarily used in road construction. But in this case, it's equipped with a controlled grapple used for loading purposes. Its advantages are that it can reach out well to the side of the road and with finger-like dexterity pick up pulpwood or long logs and place them very carefully on the body of the truck, thus avoiding hazardous manual labor. The grapple can also be used for shoveling snow off the top of the pulpwood pile and do it much less expensively than by hand tools. Present-day methods, softwood is trucked to a landing, either on the bank of a lake or on a sandbar in the lake, where it is unloaded by crane. The slings are, of course, placed in the body of the truck before the wood is initially loaded into it. When 4-foot pulpwood became general, brook driving was a common water operation. This requires dams in order to build up heads to secure the necessary water volume. Now, with the universal use of the motor truck, brook driving is a lost art. Since wood must be transported in any event, it's obviously more economical to truck directly to the larger bodies of water than to use the smaller brooks for driving. Even though the principal rivers are still used for the transportation of logs and pulpwood, The color and excitement of the old river driving days are now history. Then, when the drive was in or completed, business increased substantially at the local bars, and most of the law-abiding citizens remained at home for the duration. Towing operations were common where logs and pulpwood had to be moved across lakes. Logs and pulpwood were towed loose in booms and then generally sluiced over dams. The Brown Company had a 14-mile towing operation which took place in the spring as soon as the ice was out and continued on a round-the-clock basis until completed. Crews were rotated and the towboat worked continuously. This equipment was diesel-powered, steel-hulled, radio-equipped, and included sleeping quarters and galley facilities. The river driver was armed with a pick pole for shoving the logs along and a handspike for prying them loose. Later, the peavey came into use. Incidentally, this tool was invented in 1858 by Joseph Peavey, a blacksmith of Stillwater, Maine. Replacing a crude tool known as the swing dog, the peavey is still in general use. Except for a few minor variations, it's practically the same tool today as when first designed and is still manufactured in Brewer, Maine by the fourth generation of peaveys. Not one logger in 10,000 knows the derivation of the term peavey. A trailer truck approaches our weighing and scaling station at the Berlin Pulpwood Yard. All hardwood species are weighed rather than scaled by rule. Weighing hardwood pulpwood with a modern set of high-capacity scales is a positive method for determining volumes and saves time for both the trucker and the scaling personnel. This station is generally open the year round for the receipt of pulpwood from farmers, producers, and contractors. Cash payment is made immediately on the receipt of a truckload of pulpwood, thereby providing an immediate income for pulpwood producers in the area. In the mid-1950s, technology provided the necessary machines to enable the sawmill industry to manufacture suitable chips from bark-free slabs and edgings for the pulp and paper industry. Nationwide chips from former waste wood are now providing about 25% of the total raw material used by the pulp and paper industry. The Brown Company was an early pioneer in this development. The conservation aspects of this development are very appealing to the industry. We're receiving chips by both trailer truck and railroad hopper gondola cars from the three northernmost New England states and Canada. For conversion into paper, famous Nybrock towels and tissues, Bermico sewer pipe conduit and fittings, Onco, an imitation leather used in the shoe and handbag trade, chemicals and Sulca flock, of finely divided wood cellulose, and other famous products made possible through years of experimentation and scientific research. This has been the story of the Brown Company's woodlands, its greatest single asset. They provide essential raw material not only to our mills, but to other wood-using plants throughout the area, and employment for thousands in pulp and paper mills, veneer and furniture factories, sawmills, and wood-turning plants. They thereby generate millions of dollars in payroll to company employees and other millions of dollars in income for those who are engaged in service occupations in the North Country. Finally, these are tax-paying woodlands, contributing substantial amounts toward the support of state and local municipalities.
Sometimes it begins with a casual ride in the country. You travel quiet roads, past farm homes, and perhaps you think you'd like to live in such a place. Perhaps you like the sights and the sounds of the country. You wonder what it would be like to see all the seasons here, to earn part or all of your living on the land. The doctor, the trapper, the television performer, and many others have found it possible and pleasant to be part-time farmers. Such folk operate 3 out of every 10 U.S. farms. Part-time agriculture is a way of life, with its converts drawn from every rank and condition of American society. It offers the family more time together, healthy living conditions, greater recreational opportunities. In the state of Maine, where a balanced agricultural, industrial, and vacation land economy has encouraged part-time farming, the spring brings traditional pastimes. But not all members of the farm family can take all the time they'd like to go a-fishing. This is the season of the plow and the harrow. These are the weeks when some part-time farmers are working to raise colorful crops for Memorial Day and for window boxes and flower beds throughout the season. Work on greenhouse projects usually can be arranged to conform to the hours of shift work in nearby factories. Even the smallest part-time farm has a kitchen garden. This is the place where the ex-city dweller learns the true meaning of country fresh. The place where a small investment in seeds, plants, and fertilizer, plus family work, replaces a major outlay of cash at the grocery store. Home canning or freezing makes your garden a year-round pleasure and economy. Every part-time farmer has enough land for a kitchen garden, and many own grassland for livestock. Although most dairy farms are full-time operations, part-time farmers have demonstrated that a milking herd of moderate size can be carried with salaried work. It is a busy life, and more than one member of the farm family will be occupied with the chores of the dairy, or sometimes they're a hired hand. The ideal economic balance in Maine, with many local industries offering both year-round and seasonal employment, makes it possible for farm families to have two or more income sources and to enjoy life in the country without financial hardship. Here, good working conditions and varied recreational opportunities, plus freedom from city hazards and restraints, are creating a new farm and industry labor force. In early summer, part-time farmers use locally available labor, frequently girls on vacation from jobs in industry and government, to harvest small fruit and vegetable crops for sale fresh or for processing. A well-established strawberry project is sometimes a family's principal income source. Although most berry crops vary in price from season to season, Maine growers ordinarily find a premium market for quality fruit in the many resort hotels and other eating places which serve the Pine Tree State's summer vacation trade. One prosperous raspberry planting with an adjacent sales stand is the farm project of a well-known fur trapper. The hot July sun has a habit of sending farm workers and part-time farmers themselves to the lakeside at the end of the day's work. There they'll enjoy the sports for which vacationists in Maine have come hundreds or even thousands of miles. All ages enjoy swimming, and boating has a kindred appeal, with unlimited opportunities on river and lake and seacoast. On one July weekend, many part-time farmers are among those who attend Maine Broiler Day, held annually at Belfast. During a one-day public barbecue, some 12 to 15,000 halves of charcoal broiled chicken are served, and the $70 million Maine poultry industry selects a queen to rule for 1 year. There's the winner, selected by out-of-state judges. And to youthful Governor Edmund Muskie will go the job of crowning the Maine poultry queen. That's the end of a festival of good eating in a pleasant Maine coastal community. But the Broiler Festival is only one of the many such adventures in fine food that part-time farmers enjoy in the Pine Tree State. Take our lobster festivals, for example. The best place to eat the famous Maine lobster is, of course, in Maine. And be you practiced in the art or just a beginner, you'll be welcome. While summer's festivals contribute to the part-time farmer's enjoyment of life in Maine, it is a season of hard work. Happily, part-time projects in beef and sheep raising are less confining than dairying or poultry raising. Management requirements are not as great, and in general, they fit more conveniently into the part-time farmer's schedule. The doctor's herd is of registered Hereford. The major part of his farm income comes from the sale of breeder stock. Such herds are important and economically sound in Maine, where beef raising is increasing year by year. Stock from registered herds goes to build up commercial beef operations, many of them part-time projects. All members of the farm family have work to do these hot summer days. It's time to cut second crop hay. Incidentally, animal husbandry specialists of the Maine Department of Agriculture have developed an excellent market for feeder calves outside the state. One of the principal agencies working to promote beef raising in Maine is the Maine Hereford Breeders Association. Its calendar of activities combines an auction of breeding stock with an annual steak fry or pit barbecue. You could almost conclude that Maine's summer social schedule is made up of adventures in eating. But that isn't the case. For enjoyment of quite a different sort, part-time farmers visit the Gilbert Sullivan Festival Theatre at Monmouth. There, Dorothy Radler's American Savoyards, the only full-time United States G&S repertory company, play a 10-week summer season in a theater built many years ago especially for the presentation of operettas. Such evenings at the theater, and there are many summer theaters in Maine, combine with various special events, with community concert series, with motion pictures and television, to bring top-quality entertainment to rural areas which are 8 to 9 hours by turnpike from New York City. Whatever the other forms of entertainment part-time farmers enjoy, it's traditional for them to attend at least one county fair. And along with the amusements of the track and the midway, the fair has its serious side. At Norway Fair, for example, is the annual State of Maine Market Lamb Show and Sale. There, 4-H youngsters see the results of their care and management. They have learned the daily chores and economic facts of life with livestock. There's pride and sometimes reluctance as a pet, and a prize winner at that, is auctioned off. Sheep flocks are logical part-time projects in Maine. They require less acreage and a smaller initial investment than do beef herds. Sheep feed on a greater variety of grasses, even weeds, than cattle, and a substantial acreage of abandoned grassland is being reclaimed by sheep flocks. Maine sheep growers have the advantage of participating in an annual wool pool, and the East is the nation's principal market for lambs. The New England supply is so light that lambs are shipped in from the South and West. Some part-time farmers are planning use of more offshore islands for sheep flocks. A hardy breed of stock developed by fishermen shepherds years ago is being improved. One major cost, adequate fencing, is no problem to the island farmer. And where the land is fenced by the sea, there are quiet places, places to walk and to watch. The ospreys are the only hawks for which the poultry farmers have kind words. Other predators, like the common chicken hawk, find it unhealthy to fly near the nests of the great fish hawk. Part-time poultry farmers in Maine include many catering to the Thanksgiving and Christmas trade, sometimes raising their own breeding stock, but generally interested primarily in marketing a top-quality table bird. Roasting chicken, capons, turkeys, and ducks, as well as geese, are raised for seasonal and sometimes year-round sale. The development of the modern farm freezer has removed some hazards of this type of part-time project. Buying direct from the farm, whether poultry and eggs or apples and fresh cider, has always had its appeal to residents of urban areas. Nowadays, a surprising number of folk from such areas are moving to the rural districts, and they're making part of their living by selling the products of the country. The appeal of the rural scene is such that few phases of farming are unexplored by part-time farmers. Even pioneering work in the establishment of cattle breeds new to the United States has been undertaken. One of America's first herds of belted Galloways, an ancient beef breed from southwestern Scotland, was established by a Maine part-time farmer in 1953. Rugged constitutions and thick coats enable Belties to live outdoors throughout the year. New enterprises undertaken by part-time farmers can spur agricultural development. The retired executive, the carpenter, bringing contrasting experience to part-time farming, going with the beautician, and many more to find new ways or perpetuate traditional methods and add strength to the farm economy. Part-time farmers help to build sound communities, comprising a competent workforce of value to local industries. Varied recreational opportunities make for a happier life and for better work. Maine has a popular state park system, as well as commercial facilities for vacation land living. There are unspoiled woodland areas. Game and other wildlife is in abundance in the agricultural sections. Farm homes, even when on principal highways, are convenient to lakes, rivers, or marshes, with hunting and fishing. But however pleasant a life Maine may offer part-time farmers, the state's greatest appeal is in its ample resources inland. Maine's soil and climate are favorable to a long list of crops, to grassland farming, and to the livestock industries. There are forests and water, and always comfortable homes. And country home means so many things: healthy living, good food. There's a place to raise livestock, or the pets you want, and you're only hours from the major cities of the East. Such considerations are building an important new link between farm and industry: the part-time farmers.
we were trying to hole out in a hurry, and you know what happened.
The rains came.
There you are, Ed.
Thank you.
Well, I think we should do this more often.
Right, it's been much too long since we've gotten together like this.
I agree. Soda, Frank?
I'll do it, thank you.
I'll have mine on the rock stand, if you don't mind.
Hey, Dan, what's this? I mean this newspaper over here. Rascality exposed. Aimed with selling goods under false pretenses. Is this ad a gag?
Oh, no. That's a genuine ad published by the Distillers of Canadian Club back in 1901.
Well, I'll be.
I suppose the other fellas figured if they couldn't copy the taste, at least they could copy the label, eh? Very interesting. What's your connection here, Dan? Just the fact that you serve Canadian Club to your friends?
No, Glenn. The ad is just a coincidence. My connection is with the story of the old schooner Martha Town. She was a blockade runner for the South during the war between the states. As you can see here, an unsuccessful attempt was made to salvage her secret cargo in 1901.
But I still say, how do you fit in?
Well, my great-grandfather was both the captain and the owner of the Martha Town. And he was aboard when she was sunk in 1864 by a federal gunboat. One of the few things that was saved was this, the ship's log.
Doesn't the log describe the secret cargo?
Well, not specifically. According to this, the old boy started out as a blockade runner in the year '62. Now, he'd pick up cargoes of cotton and tobacco, and then he'd slip through the blockade of the Union ships. And then he'd reload with goods that were badly needed by the South, and back he'd come. But the log never describes the exact cargo on the return trips.
Well, in those days, the South needed plenty of things. Salt, for instance, was worth more than its weight in gold. So were coffee and tea and medical supplies. Pins and needles were priceless.
So was practically anything made of metal.
Say, no wonder blockade running paid off so well. I just noticed in here the old boy mentioned selling cargoes to the southern auction houses for as much as $500,000.
You mean per trip?
Right?
He must have done all right for himself.
Evidently, because he mentions having to buy an extra large strongbox to, quote, to hold my mounting supply of gold, unquote. And he apparently always carried it with him.
And at 500,000 per, that must be some supply of gold.
Yes, but the thing that always intrigued me was the mystery of his final cargo. Now, he refers to it as being stowed away in heavy chests and of its tremendous value, plus its vital need to the South in 1864.
Well, maybe it was gold to pay for supplies like guns and ammunition, because some gold was brought in from Europe, I know.
Well, that's what I always thought, or hoped, was the secret cargo.
You know, I think everyone has dreamed of finding lost treasure. You know, from some pirate ship or a Spanish galleon loaded with silver, gold doubloons, precious jewels.
That's not such a wild dream. I read an article recently that said that according to official records, 1/8 of all of the gold and silver mined since the year 1500, or over $300 billion, has been lost at sea.
300 billion, wow.
And more than that, professional treasure hunters know the approximate underwater location of more than 1,000 of these old treasure ships.
I think that's exciting.
So do I. And that's why, just 1 month ago, I went after the wreck of the Martha Town and found her. Right here.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, what did you find?
Well, the story actually begins some time ago, shortly after Doris and I were married. Doris had always been an avid skin diver. She was good at it, and it wasn't long before I, too, was just as enthusiastic about the sport. In fact, as time went on, Doris and I found ourselves investing every spare nickel in special equipment so we could dive deeper and stay down longer in our explorations of marine life. Later on, we bought a small boat to take us to water that was still deeper. Doris was a good teacher and I was a willing student. Now, being an experienced underwater swimmer, Doris was always fully aware of the dangerous physical reactions that can occur when swimming in deep water. One of these dangers is that sometimes you're so fascinated by the underwater life that you abandon all sense of time, safety, and judgment. The result, of course, can be death. And then, too, there's always the old danger of the bends. Now, this happens when you come up too fast from deep water and the pressure is changed too rapidly. Soon I was trying my hand at spearfishing. Boy, I'll never forget the thrill of stalking and spearing my first barracuda. And don't think I wasn't excited the day I suddenly found myself looking straight into the eyes of a vicious moray eel. Of course, to Doris, underwater swimming was just a sport. But since I'd never completely lost my hope of someday finding a lost treasure, to me, it was a definite means to an end. Then one day, we accidentally found and explored the remains of an old ship. We didn't discover any lost treasure. But after finding this wreck, even Doris had caught the excitement of treasure hunting. So, armed with the log of the Martha Town, just a little over a month ago, Doris and I drove down to the Florida Keys, where the sunken treasure fortress is located on Plantation Key. There we called on Mr. Arthur McKee, Jr., who is one of the world's few professional and successful treasure hunters. We decided he was just about the best man in the country to advise and help us. Right off the bat, we were encouraged by his genuine interest in the old log of great-grandfather's ship, the Martha Town. And what's more, he agreed with us that the secret cargo, if it could be found, might be of tremendous value. Then he took us into the museum and showed us some of his collection of salvaged souvenirs that were part of the lost treasures he had personally recovered from under the seas. Spanish gold doubloons, silver pieces of 8, and many other relics. In addition to the collection of relics in the museum, Mr. McKee had built up several complete files of facts describing the location of old ships that had gone down to the bottom with cargoes of gold and silver valued in the millions of dollars. Now, these files were the result of years of research and careful study of official government records, insurance claims, old charts, manuscripts, ship's logs, and even legends. So you can imagine how we felt when on one of his charts, we found the name and location of the Martha Town. Then we found the record in one of the files. It said, American schooner, English registry, blockade runner, sunk off Florida coast 1864. Cargo unknown, but believed highly valuable. Salvage attempt failed 1901 due to storms, bad operating conditions, currents, and so forth. Well, to make a long story short, McKee said that in his opinion, maybe a salvage attempt was worth a try. Although he pointed out that as a salvage crew discovered in 1901, you just don't dive down, grab off a fortune, and loot without effort. Treasure hunting is hard, treacherous, dirty work, and more often than not, very disappointing. But by now, we were as determined as we were excited. And before we left his office, Doris, Mr. McKee, and I made a deal. And within a week, even though it was late in the season, with danger of running into hurricane weather, we chartered a boat and crew, and our little expedition labeled Operate Secret Cargo on its way. While we were at sea, Doris and I spent most of our time listening to Mr. McKee's stories of his adventures on other treasure hunting trips. His stories were filled with episodes involving encounters with not only the legendary man-killing denizens of the deep like man-eating sharks, ill-tempered barracudas, and the traditional and equally legendary guardians of sunken treasure, the giant octopus, but also the dangers of strange and turbulent underwater currents, and encounters with modern sea bandits who always seem to come from nowhere to pounce on successful salvagers and relieve them of any treasure they may have taken from the sea. Stories like these seem to make an already exciting venture even more so. Then finally came the news we'd been waiting to hear.
Well, folks, according to the chart here, we've arrived. If the chart is right and we're lucky, the remains of the Martha town should be under the surface somewhere near here.
After this news, naturally we lost no time starting our preliminary search for the wreck by snorkeling just under the surface of the water. The underwater scenery was beautiful, fascinating as only marine life can be. Even though we were directly over the reef, where the ship was supposed to have gone down, hours of patient searching revealed no trace of her. Of course, underwater currents, constantly shifting sands, corrosion, and the wood-eating terrator worms can wipe out almost every trace of a wreck in a few short years, and the Martha town had been on the bottom since 1864. And just as we were about to quit for the day, suddenly Doris saw something.
Dan, look! Look, I think I found her.
Down in the blue-green depths was a vague ship's outline formed by tons of ballast stones. The wooden superstructure was entirely gone, but the outline of what once was a proud ship was definitely there. Was this it? Was this the remains of the Martha town and her tremendously valued secret cargo? Well, we soon found out. Since Mr. McKee, our expert, was the only one who could positively identify the wreck, he and I made the first survey of the find. I had a strange, almost eerie feeling as we swam around the ribs of what we hope was my great-grandfather's old blockade runner. lands was half buried by the ballast rocks. The old anchor was encrusted with coral, but to me the sight was completely thrilling. Well, our preliminary survey showed we were in luck. According to McKee's findings, the remains were definitely those of the Martha Town. So we marked the spot with a buoy. That evening, filled with excitement and anticipation, we drank a toast to our luck and to the secret cargo we hoped to uncover in the next few days. The following morning, we moved the ship to the spot marked by the buoy and hoisted the diver down safety signal. Now we were ready to make our first working dive to the wreck of the Martha Town. Part of our equipment included a special device for detecting metals. It worked on the same principle as the mine detectors we used in the Army. Our first trip down was exciting, if nothing else. Of course, we'd been warned that anything of value we might find wouldn't be just sitting there on a silver platter. It'd be pretty well buried in the shifting sands, and we'd have to work for it. We went down several times that first day, and even though we didn't find anything of value, we weren't discouraged. I at least had a definite hunch that any second, the metal detector or our crowbar would locate something. As a result, I was working faster and harder. At this depth, this was dangerous because not only was I using up my air supply too rapidly, but there was a definite possibility of stomach seizure. That night, we drew a sketch of the wreck to use as a guide in our search for the cargo.
This will give us a better idea of the parts of the old ship where it would be best to concentrate our searching efforts.
This sketch turned out to be a big help, because 2 days later, we found what we'd been looking for. We found the first of what the ship's log had referred to as the many chests of the kind of metal that might save the South and also mean tremendous wealth to the owners. In our excitement over the find, plus the added exertion of our working, we had more than overstayed our limit, and our air supply was almost gone. For safety's sake, it was time to surface. But just then, we had a visitor, and a mean-looking one, too. As every diver knows, the most dangerous moment in shark and barracuda waters is when the swimmer is leaving the water and only his feet remain below the surface. That's when attack is most likely. So when I saw the shark head toward Doris, I had to go after him with my spear gun. When the shark headed back for me, I fired, but my spear only wounded him, but it meant that blood had been spilled, attracting even more sharks and making the water even more dangerous. But thanks to McKee and the action of his high-powered rifle topside, we all came through that little episode unharmed. However, it would be hours before we dared go down again. And they were long hours, too, because we were anxious and impatient to open the chest we'd found in the old hull. And just as we were ready to try it again, one of the crew reported that a small craft had been circling in the distance for quite some time.
Here, take a look at them. Might be just a fishing party. On the other hand, it might be poachers ready to move in on us if they suspected we'd found a treasure. Better lower that diver down flag. Keep an eye on it.
Well, poachers or not, nothing's gonna stop us now.
Right, Dan. Come on, let's go.
Finally, we managed to open the lid, and there was our precious secret cargo.
Well, what was it?
Well, it wasn't a shipment of gold from Europe. But if that cargo had been delivered when it was so desperately needed, it may have been worth more than its weight in gold, because this is what we found. Iron horseshoes, tons of them. A commodity vital to the Confederate cavalry in 1864.
That's right. I remember learning about that in history class.
Iron horseshoes. Well, I am surprised.
What an ending to the story.
Oh, but that wasn't the end. Oh, we were all plenty disappointed, all right. But, as Mr. McKee said...
Well, that's all part of the game of treasure hunting. I guess we'll just have to write this trip off to fun and experience.
Just about then, the captain sent word that we'd better get underway as soon as possible. That reminded us that we were in the hurricane season, and right now the ship's barometer was still falling. But I wasn't quite ready to leave. I wanted to make just one more dive, and I finally persuaded everybody to wait at least that long. This time, I didn't go near the cargo space, but remembering the sketch that we had drawn, I decided to explore the area where the captain's quarters were originally located. I had an idea that maybe just by luck, I might be able to find great-grandfather's extra-large strongbox he referred to in the ship's log. I searched and searched until, as usual, it was just about time for me to come up. Then, I found something. Of the ship's sextant. To me, this meant I was in the area of the captain's quarters for sure. So then I really went to work. We'd been looking for. The captain's personal strongbox. On deck, they were concerned about the menacing weather, and also with the fact that I'd been in deep water well past the period of safety. But my only thought was, at last, my boyhood dream was coming true. Thrill and excitement of my discovery, I didn't think or even care about time, safety, or even if I was breathing properly. Of course, I didn't realize what might happen until suddenly it did. A severe and horrible stomach cramp. The pain of the seizure was so excruciating that I actually lost consciousness. here's one of the coins from great-grandfather Strongbox.
What about the rest?
You said there were bags of gold, lots of them.
There are, and they're still there, I hope.
You mean you didn't go back after the rest?
Well, beginning then and ending just about now, the hurricane season has still been on. And on top of that, nobody, even Doris, was absolutely sure I hadn't just dreamed up the treasure chest during my little bout with the bends.
But what about this coin? What more proof do they need than that?
Well, when it dropped on deck, evidently it had fallen into the toe of one of my flippers. And it wasn't found again until after we were home, and Doris and I were checking over our equipment.
Well, imagine that. So now she believes you, eh?
Yes. And so, gentlemen, now that the weather is clear again, within the next few weeks, we're going back to the wreck of the Martha Town. And this time, we know what we'll be looking for.
Well, Dan, here's luck. To the safe recovery of the contents of the captain's personal strongbox.
Right. Plus all the luck that still remains in those Confederate horseshoes in the secret cargo.
Whether the occasion is something special or simply dinner for the family, beer and ale are at home today on the American table, accepted and enjoyed like bread or milk, an integral part of everyday life as they have been throughout their history. That history goes back a long way, even further back than ancient Egypt, where beer was made over 4,000 years ago by the same men and women who baked the daily bread. Centuries later, the monasteries of the Middle Ages became famous for their special brews. The pious monks and then the guild craftsmen in the towns competed with each other as makers of beer always have, vying for a distinct quality and flavor to fill the medieval cup. When the Mayflower's pilgrims sailed westward, malted brews sailed with them. In 1620, one of them explained in his diary that their ship had landed at Plymouth because we could not take time for further search, our victuals being much spent, especially our beer. America's first brewery was built in Lower Manhattan. The old New Amsterdam State House was originally the city tavern, whose beer was reputed to be as good as that brewed in the fatherland. From the very first, public life and the tavern were closely connected. The colonial innkeeper and the brewer were among the most substantial and respected citizens. Before hanging out his sign as host to the community, a man had to prove himself a church member and a voter in good standing. In taverns from Maine to Carolina, much of our nation's future course was set. Here was a place where men could meet freely to exchange their thoughts over a tankard of good brew. Here the idea of independence took root and grew from debate to resolution. Patrick Henry, who had worked as a tapster, spoke of America's taverns as the cradle of liberty. Our Revolutionary Army Surgeon General wrote of malted brews, they are, when taken in a moderate quantity, generally innocent, and often have a friendly influence upon health and life. The Commander-in-Chief himself had a recipe of his own.
To make small beer, take a large sifter full of bran hops to your taste. Boil these 3 hours, then strain out 30 gallons into a cooler. The 19th century saw the birth of a major modern industry. Many brewers were coming from Europe to the New World, where they learned to harness their proud traditions to the new ways of mass production. A great industry began to grow, an industry in which each man could preserve the secrets of his craft, an industry in which each man could retain his own special knowledge and technique. New methods were developed, but each man kept his personal touch. The skill and craftsmanship of the past were handed on to the future. Each brew maintains its individual character today in a tremendous industry that draws its essential materials from every state of the nation. Cartons and coal, bottles and bottle caps, paper, tin and steel. Top-grade corn from the fields of Iowa. Rice from Arkansas, Texas, and from Louisiana. Premium barley from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and from the Dakotas. And the finest hops from the vines of Oregon, Washington, and California. Here are the brewer's traditional basic ingredients. Hops for their tangy flavor and aroma. Corn or rice for their lightness. Sweet-smelling malting barley for body and foam. And water, tested, analyzed, and filtered to ensure its purity. Modern science is vital today in checking the quality of every product that goes into the making of beer and ale, keeping watch over the basic elements, ensuring the highest standards before brewing begins and in the final result. Science is vital, yet it remains subservient to the brewer's art. The lab technician works hand in hand with the brewer, and their primary aim is to maintain the special personality of their brew. Power enough to light a city sets in motion the unhurried process of brewing. The vast equipment of the brewery takes over the basic ingredients, and the first stage in the beer making cycle has begun. Ground malt is mixed with heated and sterilized brewing water and stirred into mash. Corn and rice are boiled with a small amount of malt before being added to the malt mash and cooked again, a process that produces fermentable sugar, one of the first of the miraculous conversions that lead to beer and ale. Once it is cooked, the converted mash is allowed to filter through its own malt husks. This filtering produces a finely strained liquid called wort, a bubbling amber stream. Here is beer in its infancy. The filtered wort pours into great kettles of shining copper, where a further transformation is to occur. A transformation that will sharply alter the character of the brew. In this tremendous kettle, the wort is brought to the boiling point, sterilized and concentrated, and here the liquid takes on its tart, tangy flavor, the gift of fragrant, vine-ripened hop cones that percolate with the brew. 6 hours have passed since brewing began. Soon the hops will be removed and the wort set to cool in a collecting tank. Meanwhile, the copper sheen of the glistening giant kettles seems to predict the golden liquid that has begun to develop, brewed slowly, carefully, and with the individual touch that each brewer brings to his work. Every step in this process is controlled by machines and by men who are master craftsmen of their art. A constant check is maintained on the progress of the wort and on every piece of equipment that touches it. These men combine their efforts to ensure the quality and purity of their final product. Preparations have been made now for the most important transformation of all. Carefully cultivated yeast is measured out to be mixed with the wort that has flowed through a complex system of cooling pipes. Yeast and wort combine to produce one of nature's miracles, a miracle in slow motion called fermentation. A thick, foaming restlessness agitates the surface. The living cells of yeast digest the sugars of the wort, creating the slight touch of alcohol that will give the brew its special character, bring it to life. For 7 days, this life-giving miracle drifts through the beer, a miracle of nature controlled by man. The brewing process has reached its final stage, and huge glass-lined storage tanks are made ready to receive the beer. A foaming river of new fermented brew flows into the aging tanks. A journey has been completed, and a period of patient waiting begins. These tanks hold the end result of generations of skill and centuries of tradition. Days and weeks go by, and the beer ages, each brewer taking his own particular time, just as each will choose his own method for the carbonation that follows. A natural carbonation that will give the beer its sparkle and foam. At the very end, the mature beer and ale, bearing their maker's own hallmark of flavor and aroma, are filtered once more. A final check for purity, and then they are ready. But there are still many tests to be made. The technician's constant watch enables the brewer to keep his promise of quality and to serve the community in other ways too. It was the man in the laboratory who discovered that yeast, once it has been used in brewing, makes an important contribution to poultry feed, improving the quality of our chickens and eggs. That spent grains from the brew house enrich the protein value of cattle feed and give us better milk. But at the climax of the brewing process, the scientist's main concern is for the quality of the beer itself. Every batch is carefully tested, compared with laboratory samples, and measured against previous batches to ensure uniformity. Color and taste and carbonation are checked to guarantee perfection. Beer and ale are ready for packaging now in kegs and cans and bottles that have been as carefully prepared as the brew itself. Bottles are filled every minute. The finished work of more than 82,000 highly paid men and women in the 13th largest industry in the United States. $85 million barrels a year. Beer and ale from more than 300 competing breweries in every part of the country. Beer in cans, one of the many great innovations of an industry that has pioneered on a vast scale in pasteurization, refrigeration, air conditioning, opening doors to the future, creating new fields and new jobs for men and women throughout the nation who supply the brewer's basic needs. The brew that fills these cans is part of an annual retail sales volume of more than $4.8 billion, a product which every year pays close to $1 billion in state and federal taxes. Finally, there is the guarantee of pasteurization and one last check to ensure a proper measure in every bottle before the brewer puts his label, his signature, on the finished work. A work that is signed with pride in the knowledge that it will make a major contribution to our economy and to our way of life. Government meters record every gallon that is released for sale, computing the taxes from beer and ale that will help to build our public hospitals. The machines count and record, computing the taxes from beer and ale that will pay for more great national highways. The tabulators click, computing the taxes from beer and ale that will contribute to the public schools which train our citizens of the future. Every year, nearly $1 billion in tax money from beer and ale. And now the brew is on its way, carried to every corner of the country by a vast network of men and machines, carried to nearly 500,000 retailers in food markets and taverns, men who are partners with the brewer in serving the nation. Today, as in the past, the neighborhood tavern keeper is a respected and responsible member of his community. Cooperating with the United States Brewers Foundation, he adheres to a brief but important code of regulations. No service to minors, for example. He takes pride in knowing that the product he sells makes an important contribution to the morale of our armed forces and to the community in general. And he is proud of the vital part that he plays in an industry that has maintained for generations a tradition of great character and great craft. Supermarkets and corner grocery stores throughout the country play a vital part, too, in the distribution of an important food, an accepted staple for 2 out of every 3 American families. Beer and ale hold their place on the shopping list today, along with the bread and milk and vegetables. Healthy, natural foods, encouraging moderation and enjoyment. Beer belongs to the good times that we share together. In the hours that we give over to friendship and relaxation, beer belongs.
Why is it that high-fidelity sound reproduction is so important to music lovers today? If you and I had the leisure, wouldn't we spend far more time in concert halls and opera houses than we're allowed by the pace of modern-day living? I know I would, and over the years, I've been luckier than most music lovers. However, thanks to the electronics industry, we can enjoy the luxury of having fine music brought to us in our homes through radio phonographs. But even these instruments, as we have known them, don't begin to recapture the realism and breadth of tonal expressiveness that make a live performance such a thrilling experience. Why not? Because the ordinary radio phonograph is simply not equipped to reproduce the lifelike music that is available to us through modern long-playing recordings and FM broadcasting. And that's why in this film, I'd like to tell you something about high fidelity, the new kind of sound reproduction that brings music to you with a realism and tonal range that you may never have believed possible. I wonder if you'll realize that hidden away in your own phonograph records and in FM broadcasts, there's a wealth of beautiful music that you may never have heard. The ordinary radio phonograph console is simply not equipped to reproduce all the sounds that your ear can hear. This chart shows that even the best of them reproduce only about half of the full audible range. A high-fidelity system, on the other hand, lets you hear the entire range. The sounds in the lower frequencies are the ones that supply fullness and beat, while the upper portion, what we call the overtones, are what allow you to tell one instrument from another. With all sounds reproduced, the music takes over the realism and personality of a so-called live performance. There's another important reason why a high-fidelity system makes music in your home seem so alive and so rich. And that is that it's almost entirely free from distortion. What is distortion? Simply this: all unwanted extra noises and effects which were not a part of the original music. Now this is distortion: hum, squealing, hisses, and more often a general fuzziness or overlap of notes. I like to compare a distorted musical passage with a poor photograph. A poor lens takes a poor picture. A fine lens takes a sharp, clear picture. High fidelity is the musical lens that reproduces music with as little as 1/10 of 1% distortion. The set that you now own may distort sounds as much as 10 to 20%. Does a high-fidelity radio phonograph look different? Well, there's a great difference. Conventional radio phonographs, like the one you see, are purchased as a complete unit. As much as half the cost may be in expensive cabinet work. Since it must be a compact piece of furniture, the area for the speaker is almost always less than adequate. Also, to effect economies, the manufacturer simplifies the various parts of the radio itself and mounts them on one frame or chassis. Now, a high-fidelity system comprises a group of pre-assembled units bought to suit your needs, ready to plug together. The units shown are those that you would need for a high-fidelity radio phonograph: the amplifier, the tuner, the record player, and the speaker. You pay only for the parts that play the music when you buy high-fidelity equipment. The basic job performed by the tuner is to pick the radio signals out of the air and then let you tune in those that you want to hear. It may also provide the tone controls, record preamplifier, and other valuable functions. In most areas, it's a good idea to utilize a tuner that receives both FM and AM broadcasts. While there are many AM programs you may want to hear, it is FM broadcasting, with its vastly superior tonal range and freedom from distortion, that brings true high-fidelity sound into your home. The selection of a tuner for FM should be based on two things: sensitivity and its ability to stay in tune. Some of the better tuners provide automatic frequency control, which simplifies tuning and prevents annoying drift away from the channel, a problem that's common to many FM receivers. Now, this is an amplifier. While your high-fidelity radio phonograph must be well balanced, that is, all units should be of comparable quality, I think it's fair to think of the amplifier as the heart of your system. For here is the unit that supplies the volume so necessary to lifelike reproduction of fine music. The unit that amplifies the tiny signals put out by the tuner or phonograph pickup thousands of times to the degree of volume desired. What makes a good amplifier? Well, first, its ability to supply enough volume. This is measured in terms of watts of power. While some amplifiers are rated up to 40 watts of power, 10 or 12 supply more than enough volume for most home requirements. Second, it must supply that volume without any noticeable distortion of the music. Today, there are amplifiers available that will produce less than 1/100% distortion at average levels. The loudspeaker is the final important link in your high-fidelity system, the unit that actually transforms the greatly amplified electrical impulses into sound waves that you can hear. There's really only one way to choose a loudspeaker. Let your high-fidelity specialist actually demonstrate several, which meet the requirements of your other units and of your budget. As important as the speaker itself is the enclosure or baffle in which it is mounted. Without adequate space behind the speaker, much of the rich, full depth in the bass frequencies is lost. An excellent baffle for a high-fidelity speaker is a wall. If the cabinet is preferred, it should be at least 6 cubic feet in content and heavily soundproofed on 3 inside walls. In selecting a record player, you have a basic decision to make. If you're a serious record collector with a deep interest in the fine detail of reproduction, then you should consider a manual professional type turntable for precision and ruggedness. If you're a bit less fussy and want greater convenience with lower initial cost, you should choose one of the fine 3-speed changers that are available. In either case, the choice of a good magnetic pickup is absolutely essential to tonal quality. The pickup is located at the end of the tone arm and is purchased separately. It contains the stylus, or needle, which may be either sapphire or diamond. While the diamond costs more, it lasts much longer and is safer for your records. You'll need separate styli for LPs and 78s. The units are easy to assemble. If you can plug in a lamp, then you can assemble your ready-to-operate units. Until I learned how really simple it is, I'd have been horrified at the idea of touching units like these, to say nothing of hooking them together. But the fact is that you can assemble them yourself. merely by plugging in connecting tables. Simple diagrams show you where. You need no special skill, no special tools. However, if you prefer, the high-fidelity specialist from whom you buy your units will recommend a competent radio technician who will assemble and test them for you at moderate cost. High-fidelity units are sold by sound specialists who have facilities for demonstrating various combinations of such units. And that's the advisable way to select those best suited to your needs. Because, after all, your own ear is the most competent judge of the qualities that you like. If you're a beginner, the specialist can be especially helpful to you. He'll sit down and work out with you certain combinations of units based on your budget and the kind of installation that you're planning. Then he will demonstrate these groups of units so that you can listen and compare. Now, this is what a typical sound demonstration room looks like. A central control panel permits instant switching to any combination. High-fidelity sound is important on TV as well. Television is undeniably a great new medium for artistic expression. And since the visual part is the new part, it's understandable that manufacturers have concentrated on that portion of the TV receiver that receives the picture at the expense of the sound portion. And yet, when viewing a vast majority of TV programs, especially musical programs, sound plays an extremely important part in the overall effectiveness. Most television receivers today offer a bare minimum of sound reproduction. A high-fidelity television receiver, on the other hand, gives you tone quality equal to that of your other high-fidelity units, and a superior picture as well. Tape recording is the most perfect method yet devised for transcribing sound. New as it is, tape is used as the master recording for more than 90% of all new disc records. That is why many music lovers, when planning their high-fidelity installations, include one of these new home tape recorders as a basic unit. Whether or not you're a serious student of music, I think you'll discover that one of the great advantages of high-fidelity sound systems is the amazing flexibility of installation that it affords. Installation plays a big part, of course, in the way your system sounds. But equally important, because you buy separate units, high fidelity gives freedom to exercise your imagination and talents. You can spend as little or as much as you desire. You can build your units into an expensive storage wall or a set of fine bookshelves. You can hire an interior decorator or do it yourself. In fact, your finished installation could actually cost less than your present set. Now, here are some examples of the variety of ways in which you can fit your high-fidelity system into your home. Here's one way in which you can enjoy the full advantages of high-fidelity sound reproduction at a cost that actually might be less than that of a good standard cabinet radio phonograph. By placing your units in an existing bookcase, you eliminate practically all the cabinet work, which accounts for half the total investment in ordinary equipment. Now, here's an installation that opens the door to a whole new world of distinctly better listening. An existing cupboard or closet provides a ready-made enclosure for your high-fidelity units. It's one of the very best speaker locations. And if you're talented with woodworking tools, you can save a great deal of money by doing the job yourself. This installation demonstrates one of the most important advantages of the high-fidelity sound system, flexibility. Because you purchase your units separately, they can be installed in wall or cabinet locations apart from one another. And so you can place your speaker where it sounds best, television where it looks best, controls and other units where they are most convenient. If you have the interest, skill, and time to build furniture, take a close look at this unusual installation. Functional and attractive as it is, this cabinet actually is quite simple to construct. And you may choose any of a wide assortment of the new finished plywoods or even fabrics for the front and side panels. Or in a den, knotty pine works out exceptionally well. Whether you live in an apartment, a small house, or a large house, there is a place in your home and in your life for high fidelity.